Hello viewer, welcome to Chungu cha Jamii. I'm your host Eunice Mugo. A very happy new year to you all. Thank you for joining us this year. Looking forward to having a great time, great conversation with you. Send in your question, your comments across all our social media networks as we are talking about back to school with the CBC curriculum. We want to understand it better. We have teachers with us who are going to help us to understand better and draw a difference between the 844 curriculum and the CBC that our children are learning today. I will allow them to introduce themselves. Welcome, guests, starting with you.
Thank you so much. My name is Francis Ngome. Happy to be here. We will talk much. Thank you.
Welcome to the show, Mr. Francis.
Thank you so much.
And to you, sir.
Thank you. I am Facilitator John Maundu, and I'm a teacher and facilitator of the CBC. Thank you for the welcome.
Welcome to this show, Mr. John. Viewer, send in your question, the 844, to the CBC, so that our viewer today who doesn't understand why we had to change or why the government opted to change to the CBC and why, which is more favorable to our children today between the two. I'd want us first to start from there, starting with you.
Yeah, that's good. Thinking about the 844 system that is about to end in few, maybe 2-3 years, and the 844 system has been there since 1986. It's now about like 40 years the 844 system has been there. The 844 system is a system that has its own problems, positive and negative. And this is what we are going to discuss a lot, because as we speak right now, we have students who are still in high school taking 844 system, and the Form 1s are not there because there's no intake of the Form 1. Because at the primary level, there's no even class 8. So the 844 system is going as we speak right now. But now as we usher in the new system, which is CBC, I think that's where we will talk a lot, because one, the parents, as we speak, we have new parents that are now joining the system of CBC. We have a parent taking a child in PP1. We have a parents taking a child in lower primary, even in upper primary and junior secondary. So they're still confused, and we will talk more about it.
What did you say, Mr. John?
Thank you so much. According to my opinion on what we have seen, once the government brought us the new curriculum, that is the competency-based curriculum, I would really want to assure or say that compared to the previous curriculum, I would really say that we are in the right direction. Because compared to 844, perhaps we got the government bringing us with speed to the CBC or change of things because maybe there's something that they saw or we can, as stakeholders, so that it was not working well for everyone because the 844 system, as we discussed before, or as it has been before, because all of us are products of the same 844. And you would feel that we only measured and concentrated on the people who scored maybe the primary level, those who scored 400s. And then, you know, you'd ask yourself, we have celebrated the 400s. What about the 200s, the 100s? The Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education results were just announced the other day. And you can see a good number of students celebrating, schools celebrating high mini scores of A's and measuring only on students who scored A's and B's. But now the bigger question is, you look at the data and you see the larger portion of the students scored below the A's and B's. Then you ask yourself, what about that other number that did not score an A? Does it mean that they do not have anything that they can offer to the society? And the question is no. The answer is no, because you find that apart from someone scoring a D, you find this person might be a good actor. If you go to their history in schools, you find they might be maybe very good in something or another. And that is why we urge or advocate for the CBC curriculum, because it's inclusive and bringing out what maybe the student or the learner is maybe nurtured in. And that's why we say in CBC, we are nurturing all learners' potential.
Interesting to understand that perspective of nurturing all potentials. Before we get to the nurturing part, maybe draw back a step. Mr. Francis here mentioned about the normal high school not having the Form 1s because we no longer have the Class 8. And now the Year 8 are going to Year 9, right? Having said that, also the government was saying that we do not have adequate facilities, and for the schools that are public, the government schools, they are continuing to build facility to be able to encompass the students. Now my question is, once we are done with the current Form 4, 3 and 2 that are in high school, are we going to close down those schools because or are we also having the students transition now as they go into the senior school? Are they going now to go to high school, or are they going to continue in the same school that they are in?
A very good question. When you look at the curriculum, the way it has been developed, we really understand that there's a vacuum. We understand that has never existed before in our set of education. But we can really understand and comprehend together that this vacuum in Form 1 today is only giving an opportunity for maybe the government to get set, that is for public schools, to have those extra rooms done. Because if you look, for instance, now, when we have the grade 9s domiciled in the primary school, and we call them the junior school. We are not calling them secondary because they are still in this, domiciled in that compound of the primary setup. And the question or the view about what will happen when they leave grade 9, it's very well catered for. Because once we get to grade 10, these learners will be transiting to the grade 10, and this will be in senior secondary school. And these senior schools are going to be set in a way. The moment we have the 844 cohort going out of the secondary school, we are going to have all these schools now classified again. You know, previously we used to have the county schools, the national schools, those kind of schools. But this time round, we are going to have these schools now classified and grouped again according to the STEM and the sciences and the sports and the art categories. And now you'll be getting a student leaves, like now the student leaves the school that we are handling there at maybe, if I can mention Mountain View School. You see, a student leaves grade 9 and goes to the choice of their pathway. So these secondary schools we are having today are going to be put in pathways, and each school will be given a different pathway. So it will be maybe school A is offering the STEM, and that is what the students will choose when it comes to the end of assessment that is going to be written in grade 9, which is KGCSE. KGCSE is the assessment that will promote them to grade 10.
Now that you've mentioned, before we get to you, a question that I want to ask is this pathway that you've just talked about, the grade 9, and you've chosen this school, and you've said this system is not based on the performance in regards to scores. So how are you going now to be able to separate those who are going to STEMs, those who are going to social science, those who are going to art and sports? Maybe to start with you, you answer that one as you also give us your perspective on the previous question.
Yeah, he talked about the CBC system, and according to him, he's supporting the system. I'm also supporting the system, but not fully. And I'll talk why I'm not supporting the system so much. The CBC system, like you've said, a student has reached grade 9. He's about to go to grade 10. Now that's where we come with these 3 pathways, whereby the students will have either to choose arts and sports. And arts and sports is under also, we also have some tracks, or we call them, or later, sometimes back we used to call maybe subjects and all that, some subjects and all that. And we see that the visual arts is under the sports. We have performing arts and sports. Now, a student, like you said, grade 9, he has to go to grade 10. How are we able to measure that this student is able to do applied science, but not pure science? How are we able to know that he's able to do technical and engineering? And like I said, the system is set in a way that every students, every pupils that is joining the system, CBC, the government takes the record of the child. So when there's what we call assessment book, the assessment book is written, and what the child is competent about is said, and the government has every child, the porthole or the record of the child in a computer, whereby they are seeing. But now your question is, how will we be able to know that he's good in this and he's not good in this? Maybe my friend here will have to expand more about it.
I'm very sure. When this system started, we have a set of assessments that the learners are writing. And these assessments have been kept as a record of ensuring that this student does not lose any track. So when, for instance, when they were in grade 3, they all wrote an assessment, the Kenya Early Years Assessment. That assessment has been compiled somewhere in NEC. And about the scores, maybe NEC may not give the scores, but there are scores. So I think the know-how of this being placed here or there, that is going to be determined because they have the scores. You see, the rubrics that we are using today, that maybe the best student in our curriculum is exceeding expectations. Then the second best there is meeting expectations. Then we have approaching expectations and below expectation. Now, for us to arrive to these rubrics for rubric 4, 3, 2, and 1, we have the scores that NEC has, because they don't give them back to the schools. But upon request, the council can give those scores. So for the rubrics, we have the scores with NEC. So when it is to decide, this student scored us to go to this pathway or the other, NEC will have those rubrics down because they have the scores from when this student started in grade 3, the national assessment that they have written in grade 4, 5, and 6, and also the KIPSEA assessment that they have written to transit to grade 7. Then now the career pathway. Now they are going to have subjects that are for pure science, and in those learning areas, if they tally the scores and see how the student has been performing, they would be able to advise this student should be or is supposed to be on this pathway and not the other. But again, there will be a process on the same.
I want us to take a break. And when we come back, we'll just pick it from where you just left it. Whereby I'm asking this question is, now that you've said that there are these pathways, you, like me as a student, I want the technology, right?
Yes.
But my score says I'm for pure math or pure science, and not the technology part. They're all STEMs, right? Or my grades are giving for STEM being the highest, I assume so, and maybe my calling is for social sciences. So am I given an opportunity as a student to choose? Because with the 844 system, when you're coming to go to campus after the KCSE,
Yes.
based on your grades, you got to choose. You're given now the opportunity. You can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, you can be an accountant, you can be, based on the strongholds of your subject,
Yes.
you get to choose because you're spoiled of options. Because if you've performed well in terms of grades, you have a lot of options, right? Those who are disadvantaged are those ones who have the low scores. Now, at this point, if I choose, I have got the highest scores exceeding expectations, but I want to do social science, I don't want to do the STEM subjects. Am I the one to choose as a student, or is it the system to choose for me? And what happens if I want to change? Let's say I took social sciences and I want STEM, or I took STEM, but again I see STEM is too much tedious, let me go back to social sciences. Am I going to have that chance and the opportunity to do that as a student? And if so, to what extent am I going to go to retrieve my steps back so that I'm able to do that? Because with the 844 system, it was not that complicated. So if they go to first year, kidogo, my subjects are agreeing to A, B, C, D, going to those classes and you're like, I was not signing up for this. I think I can change my mind. You go to a different course. By the time you're finishing first year, you've like been able to juggle, depending with also the financial strength or muscles of your parents, you've been able to juggle 1, 2, 3 things, right? And now making now a straight career path. Is it going to happen with this system that you are talking about today? That is what I want us to discuss when we come back after the break. Viewer, I hope you're learning as much as I am about the CBC curriculum system. Send in your question, your comments across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. We'll be back shortly.
Hello everyone! Welcome to
Fun.
Fun. And the hyenas were there. They wanted to snatch the baby and tear that baby into pieces and eat.
Today, we're going to make a cactus in a pot. Hey, you, coat on. Are you biting your thumb at me?
I love my mommy. I love my mommy. Yes, I do.
Are you going to show love to your friend? I'm sure you are going to do that. Friends, until next time, bye!
So through the 4 gospel books, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John, we can know the heart of Jesus in depth.
그리고 우리가 느끼는 그 예수님을 성경을 통해 느낄 수 있어서 너무 감사합니다.
And the Jesus that we can feel him through the scriptures, and I'm very thankful about that. Jesus Christ came to this earth for our
우리 죄를
sins.
지셨고
He carried our sins,
십자가에 못 박혀 주고 죄의 형벌을 당하셨고
and he was crucified, and he received the punishment for sins,
무덤에 들어가셨다가
and he was put into the tomb
사흘 만에 부활하셨습니다.
and resurrected in 3 days.
이것이 우리가 말하는 복음입니다.
This is the gospel that we speak.
예수님께 우리 죄를 위해 죽으신 이야기.
about how Jesus died for our sins, the purpose of Jesus being
우리
crucified.
죄를 담당하기 위하여 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으셨습니다.
He was crucified to pay for our
그래서
sins.
예수 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으심으로 우리 죄가 분명히 씻어졌는데
And through Jesus being crucified, clearly our sins have been washed clean.
참 안타깝게도 많은 사람은 여전히 죄인이라고 말합니다.
However, unfortunately, many people still say that they are sinners.
This program, Out of Despair, brings people out of a desperate situation. And once the Word of God comes in your life, you are able to live a very happy and a very beautiful spiritual life. The Bible says the church is a meeting of those who are truly born again. They are washed away from their sins. They are saints. In other words, this movement coming back to the Father is what we can call repentant. Don't think to say within yourselves, you have Abraham as your father, for God is able out of these stones to raise children unto Abraham. And so saints, people who are holy, who are made holy, they are a church. How about the rest? The rest who are not a church, then they can never be called a church. May God bless you. May God keep you. Thank you.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back, viewer, to Chungu cha Jamii. Today we are talking about back to school with CBC. We want to understand better about CBC. Just in case you're joining us, we had just done the brief introduction and a slight difference between the 844 system and the CBC curriculum. Send in your question, interact with us across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. So, gentlemen, I had asked a question. Once we've chosen this, who has the right to choose? Is it the student or is it the system choosing for you? And can I go back? This is the question I had asked before we went for the break. Please take us through, Mr. John.
Thank you. About the selection, because we are still in the implementation process of what is going to happen after grade 9. You know, all the things to do with pathways, that will be very practical once these learners transit to the senior school. Because in the senior school, again, they are going to get these now, all the learning areas aligned into the specific pathways that have been given. So whether they are the ones to choose or the system is going to choose for them. Number one, I can say that the system has put in their data since grade 3, since when they were in grade 3. And that data will be used to give some information about the strength of the students, depending on how they fared on in various learning areas. Again, we do not want to completely preempt that the system will be the final decision. As we get the information from the KICD, is that the system will place, but again, the student will also have a chance to make the decision. That is, if you borrow something from the 844 system, you find that a student could have been maybe given an admission to a school like Lenana Boys, and the parent maybe wishes the student to be in another institution. So it will be a point of discussion. But again, the system will still work it out for those who will have been comfortable with that. But it will leave a chance or an opportunity for a few adjustments. Yeah.
What happens if you want to change? Because as you've mentioned, with the 844 system, because that is the only system we do know better about, that we can be able to compare with the CBC, with the normal high school that we had, you could easily shift from school A to school B and the same subjects are being taught. But right now you can't easily shift to school A from school A to school B because they're not offering the same system. If they have specific career path, unless you're going to a specific career path. So if it is a STEM school, you're transferring from STEM school A to STEM school B. Now, my question is, can I change from STEM school A to social science school A or B, or the sport and art class school? No, not class.
Yeah.
Am I able to transit in that direction?
I think, I think it will be able for a child to transit. But like you said, the process of moving from one school to another is another tedious problem. Unlike the CBC system, I mean the 844 system. And again, we come to the subject. Like now, you are good in this and you want to change maybe in a campus. This is what course is good, and the system has, like the NEC has decided for you, this is the course you're going to take, and the child is not really okay with that, or the student is not really okay with that. So what shall we do? We'll have to wait for the government, because it's like we are really crossing the bridge
before we get there.
Before we get there.
But we need this insight. Mr. John, what do you have to say on the same? Because my 2 cents thinking, if I am starting to build my career path at year 10, that's the senior school, before I get to campus, if I'm to change in year 11 and say like STEM subjects, no, I'm not ready to do it as a career in year 12. That is a determinant factor in the campus. Or, peradventure, I've done it up to year 12. Nimengangana nayo until I've finished. Go to campus. And I feel like STEM, I've done my best in the year 10, 11, and 12. Adios, muchachos. Now, can I get the chance to choose in campus, social science or the arts and sports, and leave at about the STEM? What I've chosen from year 10. That's that's the way or no way.
All right, so interesting. In this whole setup of CBC, I'm very sure one aspect that we are instilling in these learners right away from their early years is that we really want them to get empowered. We really want them to be that an ethical and against citizen. And therefore, that's why it brings the sense to them that we need to understand. If you see maybe countries that this system has worked miracles, you will find that the students or the learners start doing what they will do in future at the early stages. And that is what we are trying to put in them once they are in the early years. So by the time these students or learners get to grade 9, like now, they are all aware that after grade 9, it's the pathways. And these pathways, as you have just said, is the system and maybe a few adjustments. I will not say that it's cast on stone, that the student will not have their say in what they want to take, because it is going to start after they have finished grade 9. So my whole opinion on this, it will be that this student, if the system has chosen for you a pathway that is not your interest,
yes,
this system again is going to give you a room, an opportunity, and a process for you to shift from where you have been placed to where you are interested in. Because it's not like the old days where you would be chosen to go and take medicine, and maybe you want to take journalism. And this, now that is what CBC is, this pathways is going to correct. So you start, this student is going to start the pathway there in grade 10, where they are interested in. So I'm very sure our National Council is going to give a procedure, just like the way we are getting learners from children from foreign countries. There's a procedure they are following to get enrolled in the CBC curriculum, where they go to NEC and they get the due process. They even write the assessments that were written in grade 3, 4, 5, up to the level that they want to join. And that one informs NEC where this student should be, or that learner should be admitted in the Kenyan curriculum, that is the CBC. And so there should not be any worry or any cold feet anywhere about whether maybe I'm very good at sports. Then according to my performance, of course, there are those students who perform exceptionally well in the STEM subjects, but they may not want to take anything to do with that. Yeah. But the system places them there. Mm-hmm. So it is crystal clear that there's going to be a process for them to shift from that to whatever they want to take.
Interesting. Yeah. Moving on. We say CBC is very evolving when it comes to matters to do with parent-student relationship and also doing work. My question would be, what happens to the students who are in boarding school? Because if in a day school, like for instance, the school that you guys are teaching at, you give homework and you say, this one your parent has to help you. Tell your parent to help you print 1, 2, 3, do A, B, C, D, help you to do the art, the printing, the name it, right? These things are for the parents to help the students because they are not able to do. Like for instance, you've been told to print. Maybe it's the early years, don't know how to print because not exposed to computer or the technology at that stage. So it's the parents to get involved. Moving on to other classes, they come in different sets depending with your class. What happens to those who are in boarding schools? Where do they get the chance or the privilege to involve their parents because they're studying and staying in school? They're not going home every day compared to the day scholars. Starting with you, Francis.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thinking about it, my child is in a boarding school, and his child is a day scholar. Now we ask ourselves, how are these people or the students getting the best of CBC? My thinking is the boarding schools, I don't think how they are doing, because the curriculum is putting a burden to parents to go out and the pupils to come home, or the students, for the parents to chip in and help this child to do some homework and all that. And this is like teaching a new dog a new style of hunting, and it is so hard that I'm not saying the viewers are dogs. I'm sorry for that, just to clarify. And it will be hard for that to have the new system of hunting and getting what you want. But again, it is so involving also when it comes to our pocket, the system itself. Some parents, as we speak right now, we have the viewers who are complaining and feeling the pinch that the system is just too expensive. Like my fellow teacher said, the system is good. Yes, it will make us to go deeper into our pockets. Like for the for the boarding schools, the parents will have to go deeper because they will have to pay extra money for the child to get the best, for a teacher to go extra mile and act like a parent to help this child. And again, let's think about the child who is a day scholar going home. Like in Nairobi here, most of the parents they work, they get salary. Wife and husband, they all work. They come home at a different hours. And when a wife comes home, mama is tired. She has no time to go to the books of this child, or maybe the child is already asleep. The father comes maybe at 10 o'clock. He has no time to do that. So again, it's a confusing thing to parents to say, I'm not saying the parents are not good in helping them. They are good, but now time for this. They will think about, that's why they are seeing the curriculum of CBC being a big burden to them for not to cope up well. But again, I'll support what my fellow teacher has been explaining and all that. The system is good in future. The system is just wonderful as I see it. The system allows every child to have a space to explain and to be able to be competent in the different areas. The Europe countries and America and all that, the system came earlier to them. That's why you don't find, like in Kenya, we say in Swahili, huyu ni mjinga, huyu ni mwerevu. It doesn't happen in Europe and in America, because every child is capable in his or her own area of learning. And so that's why we see them doing the best in areas that they are going. Like maybe allow me to go back, talk about the 844. The 844 was we did what we call jungling. You just jungle and you find yourself you're a teacher. Maybe it wasn't your call, you find yourself you're an engineer. And it wasn't in your planning as you were growing up and all that. And you find yourself you're a doctor. And it wasn't your area, because we were like jungling. You jungle, you don't know what you're going to hold after you have thrown all in the air. So it was a bit different. But I want to believe that the system will move well. But there's a puzzle here whereby I want to think more about when he talked about that, and you've really asked about this question again, that now the child has done this social science as well. He has also performed well in pure sciences, that is STEM. STEM. And now the government or the system, educational system, the letter comes that you have been given this course to study. And you feel like this career is not mine. I'm not going with this. I feel like I want to do this. And he said very well that maybe in future, as the system goes on, as those who are stakeholders in education continue doing the best in giving us the best in this CBC, they will think of a way of giving this child another way of shifting from one position to another, from one career to another, and that you feel this is mine. Yeah.
Interesting. Now, what I was looking for, I didn't get it very clearly, but maybe a yes or no answer as we take a break. So does this mean children in the boarding school are less privileged when it comes to the involving of the parents in matters to do with the curriculum and the works that they're supposed to do with their parents? Yes or no?
I think it's yes.
Yes?
Mine will be a different one. It's no. I think they are getting the privileges.
Even in boarding schools?
Yeah, even in
but
boarding schools.
But they don't have their parents there?
Maybe if a child is in boarding and is not getting that, because it's one of the principles of CBC.
Because if you've given a homework as a teacher that I need to do 1, 2, 3 with my daughter or my son, and then I'm not in the school, they're going to get that chance from. You'll answer this after the break. Viewer, I hope you're learning as much as I am. Interact with us across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. We'll be back shortly.
Hello, my name is Nyabio. I'm from Mahanim. Call this school a good school because the second my mom saw it, she saw it was Christian-based. And when I see Christian-based, that's what the character my mother wants from me. And I like the sports that we play for PE. Like sometimes we play table tennis, we can play football, we match, and on Fridays we have games. And we verse the teachers in football. And this is why I think the school is the best school your children can go to.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back, viewer, to Chungu cha Jamii. Today we're talking about back to school in the CBC curriculum. What is it that you're expecting as a parent, as a new parent of the junior secondary, as a parent of the continuing student, as a parent who has been able to, is mixed in between the 844 system. One is in Form 2, Form 3, or Form 4, and the other one is now in the CBC curriculum. What are the challenges, the struggles? Send in your question, your comments across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. So before we went on a break, there was the yes or no answer. And Mr. John, what you had a very different take on that. Are the students in boarding school privileged or underprivileged?
Yeah, I would say the boarders or the children in boarding schools are not underprivileged in any way. Mm-hmm. And this is where now the question of boarding comes again. As a parent, because this is about parental involvement. Mm-hmm. Because as a parent, you have to find the facility and the stature of the boarding school that you want to take your daughter or your son. Because any boarding school that is compliant to the correct stature, I'm telling you, your kids or your sons and daughters are going to find it amazing and have different opinions about boarding. Mm-hmm. For instance, you've asked a very good question about homework. Mm. Then when you ask about homework, the day school learners will carry homework and maybe they'll get time with their parents at home, I suppose. The boarding schools. Now, as I take my son or my daughter to boarding school, now the bigger question is, have I assessed what do the learners do in homework? How are their homework done? How is their activities in boarding done? You know, as a parent, because, you know, boarding is part of the parent decision. Mm-hmm. I'm very sure there is no institution that is forcing a parent to put their children in boarding. Mm-hmm. Therefore, as a parent, it means that if I've chosen school A to stay with my son or daughter, it means that I have assessed the entire facility and I'm comfortable with whatever is going on there. For instance, I just take a look in what many schools are doing. You find in many institutions where a school has a system. If it's boarding, they have a system where at night they have teachers who are on session. They also have on weekend sessions from Monday to Friday. They have sessions, and those sessions are monitored by teachers. Mm-hmm. And teachers of various learning areas. that if these learners or these children have questions to ask, or they have something that they have been told to be against or to against the parents, these learners have time with that particular teacher during that time. And these institutions also have the boarding teachers of the boarding facilitators who come in handy during these times. And they also have, in boarding school setup, they have also put in consideration the aspect of bringing parents in, where a school has a strategy of allowing the parents to come in, maybe on weekends, or sometimes they have what they call it an exit, a weekend out. So they balance. It's not like the past where, you know, they would stay from, you know, January up to March, up to the end of the term, and they have not seen the parents. So the parents are also playing a part because, you know, because of due to unavoidable circumstances, I will prefer my son or my daughter to be in boarding, and it is not a wrong thing to do. But I have to put it in mind that, is my daughter in that boarding school getting the best from it? What have I seen? Like, for instance, if I see they're having teachers, if my daughter tells me they're having teachers at night, they're interacting with the teachers, different days they have different teachers, they are helping them. They also have maybe a room where they have a printer, and they can be assisted to print anything that have been given to print out. So I would say that in boarding, it depends with the stature of the institution. And that is where we appeal to the parents maybe to assess the services that are offered in the boarding, so that you don't have the kids being underprivileged. Because in CBC, we want everybody on board. So if I have my child in boarding and is not being against, then I will have made a wrong choice as a parent.
True.
Yeah.
I want us to look at the perspective from parents and students. What are they saying about CBC? A parent who has both children in the 844 system currently going out and the CBC system. What are the grievances of that parent? And also, what are the grievances of the students? Starting with you, Mr. Francis.
Let me come to the point where the parents outside there, some of them, and the big number, the majority of them, they are still confusing themselves and wondering where this CBC system is taking them, or is taking their children or their students in. And because they don't know where they are going to land, they don't know where their children are going to land. The reason is the government is really dragging behind in putting everything in place. And I don't want to put the blame so much on the government, maybe because the system is still new, so they are moving step by step in bringing everything on the table. But parents outside there, you ask a parent from Kawangware, atakwambia mimi sijui system hii ya 844, ya CBC ni gani. You ask a child from Mukuru kwa Njenga. So bado haya maneno ni magumu kwa wazazi. Bado hawajashika vizuri. Na kwa sababu kipindi hiki kinasema kwamba chungu cha jamii, hiki chungu bado kuna vyakula havijafika ndani. Wengine wakipiga mkono ndani wanapata hamna chochote kwa sababu they do not understand. Kuna wale wachache ambao at least wameelewa the system. Na bado wanaenda with the government vile inaenda. And he talked about private schools. We have private schools that are good, whereby according to how they are good in financial, so they get every material in place. Teaching, learning, and everything in place. They have competent teachers, and when I talk about competent teachers, they are paid well. So a teacher is doing the best because out of my teaching, I also get something good in my pocket. We have other private schools You can't compare a school like Merisho and a private school somewhere in Kawangware.
Is it about the facility or the quality of education being
The
offered?
quality of education maybe in Merisho, if you can ask me, because everything, every learning material is in place. The child will attain something. Now you go to a school whereby it's a private school, the boarding school is just not good. The learning facilities are not also in order. I will still say the child there is still suffering.
Is it about the facility? I'm trying to look at it in the perspective of how you're putting it as an illustration of example of different setups in different places.
Yes, yes, different
as a teacher,
yes,
I preempt to say that mostly we say a school is a school. It depends with what you're going to get there. Is that the case here?
A school is not a school. When it comes to Kenya, a school is not a school.
Is it about?
Sure.
How so?
A school is not a school. We talked about 844 system. Let me just take you back a bit. 844 system. When a child did good marks 400, I did mine KCP 201, and it was 7 subjects. So you get 500 and above, or you get 400. 300 was nothing. You can't go to a good school. So a child has been taken to, for example, Mangu High School. And a child who got 400 is somewhere in Western Kenya in a school maybe. I'll mention a school I know, maybe Kivayo High School. It's different. Well, because the facility in Mangu High School and the facility somewhere in the village, somewhere in Narok or where.
But it's the same curriculum.
It's the same education, but different facilities for this child to grasp the education is different.
Can I argue? Am I allowed to argue it from
Yes,
the
please.
perspective of?
Yes.
If I scored the 400 marks,
Yes.
and my parent is not maybe able to pay for me the Mangu school or whichever school
Yes, yes.
that has that facility and those things that are in that school, the privileges there.
Yes.
All right?
Yeah.
And now, my parent is able to afford this school B.
School B, yes.
Right?
Yes.
I'm the same student
Yes.
with the same teachers
Yes.
who are competent with TSE, right? So what is making me not get the better results that I could have gotten in that good school, quote unquote,
Yes.
in this other side, and not acquire the same grades in this school? Simply because the student with that brain, and you are the teacher. What is making you not
It will
to
still
deliver
not
the
be
same?
better because one, well, I've just said an example and giving
Because
an example.
if you say it's all about the facility,
Yes, it is.
what has facility got to do? Because to me,
When I talk
facility
about-
I'm looking at as a structure.
Not a structure. I'm talking about the learning facilities.
Like, are we talking about books or what? Because if it is books, we are learning the same books.
There are schools. Can you please elaborate this? Because it's like my friend. Yeah.
Maybe,
Yes.
yeah, it's a critical point of view.
It is.
Because it depends. At the same time, the facility does not only carry about the structures. Because here is about also the standard again.
Yes.
I would wish to say, actually, for a school, I would prefer we talk about the standard, because even when you compare public and private institutions, mentioning the facility may not be the case, because as some of us and maybe some others outside, somewhere, could have done exceptionally well and maybe surpassed so many who have done their things in private institutions. And again, so it depends. Let's talk about the environment. And here is where the the aspect of the teacher, the aspect of the parent, and the aspect of the child comes in. Because even if you do not have, if my facility or my structure does not, or even a science lab does not measure the one that is in another school, we are carrying out the same experiments. If it's about combustion and the use of oxygen, the way, if I do it on this table and another one does it in a well-equipped lab, we're going to experience the same observation.
Allow me to interrupt you, gentlemen. I'm being told that we are running out of time. Last word in less than 10 seconds.
All right.
We'll continue this conversation online, but we have to end it.
All right.
Last words, starting with you.
All right, thank you. According to me, as a facilitator and stakeholder of the curriculum, of the CBC curriculum, I really want to assure our parents that positive attitude towards the curriculum is a thing to go. Because when you hear the kids and the parents sharing the experiences about CBC, you will even ask, why didn't this thing start long ago? Because some of the things we are doing are the things that even the parents say they used to do in their old curriculum. I don't know, they call CPE something. Yes, So I just want to say we need to have what we call a complete mental shift from the 844 system to the CBC curriculum. And the good news is that where we are headed to, at the end of the tunnel, there is light, and the light is coming. That is, we should not be worried of the ups and downs. Of course, being a new system, we are going to experience some hiccups here and there. But at the end of it all, we are going to have the fruits. Thank you.
Yeah, like he said, it's a new system. And I also want to concur with him that the system is good. But since we are being introduced into a new system of learning, our parents outside there, I will urge them and the Kenyans at large to be patient enough, because the government is trying and the teachers are also trying, because the system of 844 jumping into the new system of CBC is different. Like he said, the subjects that are being introduced right now, some of us did. I did music, I did music, I did art and agriculture. I did what we call home science, stitching and all that using. We did all those some years back. But the system is coming and somehow we feel it's okay. But somehow we do also feel it's not nice. Yeah.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for honoring our invite. It has been a pleasure having you as you give us insight about CBC. Viewer, let's continue this conversation online across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. Till next time, have a nice time. Goodbye.
Bye.